Beneath the grandeur of Rome's Colosseum, where cheers drowned out cries, stood lay a secret world few ever glimpsed: the gladiator schools. Known as Ludi, these were modern mere training grounds. They were crucibles where men and women were forged into living weapons. And sometimes, legends. These schools were the heart of the spectacle, the hidden factories producing the icons of the arena. They were places of brutal discipline and the unexpected brotherhood, where the desperate were given a chance to become immortal. From the moment the sun touched the misty silhouette of the Colosseum, the day began not with prayer, but with the clang of steel. This is the untold story of what happened within those walls, long before the roar of the crowd ever reached the sand. Gladiatorial combat didn't start as mass entertainment. It began as a somber funerary ritual, a way to honor the dead with blood offerings at the graves of aristocrats. But Rome, with its insatiable appetite for spectacle, quickly saw the potential. What started as a private ceremony soon exploded into an empire-wide obsession, the ultimate form of public entertainment. To feed this hunger, the Ludi were born. Inside these torchlit halls, a diverse and desperate collection of people were gathered: prisoners of war, condemned criminals, and even some volunteers who saw the arena as their only path to fame or fortune. They were placed under the iron-fisted rule of the lanista, the schoolmasters and the owners. Every swing of the sword, every parry of a shield, was a lesson drilled into them through sheer repetition and pain. It was a relentless process, a brutal filter designed to weed out the weak. As the lanista's voice echoed through the training yard, strength, speed, discipline, only the worthy survive. For those inside, every sunrise was a step closer to either glory in the Colosseum, or a shallow grave behind the barracks. The gladiators were not a uniform mob of fighters. They were specialists, each categorized by a distinct fighting style meticulously designed to create thrilling matchups for the crowd. You had the Murmillo, a tank infaman, armed with a heavy sword and protected by a large helmet and shield. Then there was the Retiarius, his polar opposite, fighting with the agility of a fisherman, using a weighted net and a sharp trident to ensnare his foes. And to counter him, the Secutor, a chaser, whose smooth, fish-like helmet was specifically designed to deflect the prongs of the trident. The fightings were a science of death, crafted for maximum suspense and visual drama. Despite the constant threat of violence, an unexpected camaraderie often blossomed within the Ludi. In the shadow of death, deep friendships were forged. These men shared meals, tended to each other's wounds, and understood a reality no one outside the Ludus could comprehend. And for a select few, unmatched skill and crowd-pleasing charisma could lead to unimaginable fame, wealth, and even the ultimate prize, freedom. They became superstars, their names chanted by thousands, their faces carved into lamps and pottery, living legends in a world obsessed with heroes. But behind the promise of glory lay a much darker reality. The Ludi were prisons disguised as training academies. Cruelty was a tool of control. Starvation was used to make gladiators more ferocious in the arena. Forced fights to the death within the school itself were common punishments for disobedience. The lanistae held absolute power, and the men were corrupt, staging rigged matches to settle gambling debts or curry favor with powerful politicians. The lives of their gladiators were just assets to be managed and, if necessary, liquidated. Letters and graffiti found on the walls of these schools revealed the hidden world of the gladiator's mind. Far from the one-dimensional Brutus of popular imagination, these were men with fears, hopes, and dreams. They wrote of love for family, of the terror of the arena, and the yearning for a life beyond the sword. They were trapped in a paradox, celebrated as entertainers yet confined as prisoners, their bodies owned by the fairy society that cheered their names. Their lives were a testament to the brutal contradictions at the heart of Roman culture, a society that celebrated both civil engineering and the blood sport with equal passion. The gladiatorial games were never just simple entertainment. They were sophisticated political theater on a massive scale. Emperors and the politicians used the games, the famous bread and the circuses, to appease the restless masses, distracting them from poverty, corruption, and the political unrest. By sponsoring lavish games, a ruler could display his generosity and the power, securing the loyalty of the populace. A victory in the arena was a powerful narrative. It could transform a forgotten slave from a distant land into a celebrated hero of Rome overnight, a living embodiment of the idea that even the lowest could achieve greatness. The crowd roared for their champions, their victories a brief, thrilling escape from the monotony of daily life. Yet, for every gladiator who raised his sword in victory, soaking in the eruption of applause, another lay silent on the blood-soaked sand. Death was the silent partner in every match. The roar of the crowd, the grand spectacle, often masked the countless silent tragedies of the fallen. Their names were rarely recorded, their stories lost to the winds of history, forgotten sacrifices to an empire's obsession. Today, the ruins of schools like the Ludus Magnus stand in the shadow of the Colosseum, their stones whispering of a forgotten world. The shouts of the lanista, the clash of swords, and the desperate prayers of the fighters have long since faded. Rome's gladiators are gone, but their complex stories of courage, brutality, and profound humanity endure. They were more than just fighters. They were symbols of survival against impossible odds, icons of a system that both created and consumed them. They remind us that even in the darkest corners of history, in the most brutal of circumstances, legends can be born. Their legacy is etched not just in the ancient stone and the rusted artifacts, but in our enduring fascination with their world. The untold lore of Rome's gladiator schools isn't just a story about blood, sand, and combat. It's a deeper story about survival, ambition, and the razor-thin line that separates a mortal life from an immortal legend, all staged in the heart of an empire that perfected the art of spectacle. The world has changed, but the echoes of the arena still resonate, a timeless reminder of humanity's capacity for both cruelty and greatness. Thanks for watching. If you found this journey into the past as fascinating as we did, don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell for more dives into forgotten history.